Hi, everyone. My dear friend and colleague, Barbara, and I were just having a conversation about the issues we face today. And specifically, we were discussing how it can be very difficult to honor who you are, honor your individuality, and these feelings so many of us have about not being enough and how we deal with that. And we said, hey, let's share this with others who might want to hear. So, Barbara, give me your 2 cents here and we'll just carry on a little bit because I think, as you and I agreed, this is a really important conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. And God, I get emotional just thinking about for how many years I've felt not good enough, not had enough confidence. And then I've gotten into situations like becoming an animal communicator where people think I'm crazy or, that just
Yeah.
totally discount what I'm doing. And instead of standing up to them and saying, this is great stuff and it could help you just get over it. Instead of doing that, I've kinda shut down for a very long time,
Yes.
and, it's been painful. It's been painful to worry about what other people are thinking because it all comes from me feeling like I'm not sure that what I do is really that good and effective. I don't know. So, even when I get comments from other people saying, "Oh, this is great," and blah, 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 stuff like that, it still has been really challenging to trust myself and trust what I'm receiving, and, it has been a huge problem.
And I think that you and I have been doing this stuff for a long time. And frankly, we've been trailblazers. I still remember when I would be excited and enthusiastic and talk about how animals feel and the connectedness and how they've taught me love and etc. and all the things we talk about and really getting strange reactions, being called silly names, laughed at. But but we were the ones who began this whole new paradigm. And it's so much better now than it used to be. But these doubts of, whoa, not everybody agrees. How do we keep going? We persevere in strength. And sometimes it can be really, really tough to feel authentic and making a difference.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
and,
tough.
there are more and more people opening up to these possibilities that animals are actually conscious beings and have sentience and can communicate and can think and can feel, duh, but
Duh. Feel
but
pain, feel pain.
and feel pain. But, recently I've encountered a number of people who work with animals and do wonderful work with animals who totally discount all of this. They do their thing, they do it in the standard traditional way, and, um, and to think about communicating with animals is, like, impossible. I've even had someone in the scientific world, a researcher, tell me that if she supported this kind of work, animal communication, intuitive interspecies communication, that she would be ostracized by the scientific community. And
Yeah,
I've had someone at a sanctuary, this wonderful, huge wildlife sanctuary, tell me, "We're doing just fine. We don't need any of that kind of stuff.
right,
We don't
right.
need to know." And, it's just so off-putting at times and disappointing, to be doing this work for so many years and then have people that just totally discount it and don't get it.
I
So
think that it's multifactorial because let's face it, there's some uh not necessarily authentic people out there doing work, and this is true in any field, and so that brings up questions. And then there are people who I have found who privately will be very enthusiastic and supportive, but when it comes to being public about it, or risking anything, no, 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 they don't want to, they're not interested, or not involved. And I think this is true in other areas of science where new fields are opening up, and the possibilities, intuition, all kinds of, uh, and I have a site on my website, Unexplained Powers of Animals. Um, and a lot of people are kind of, ooh, we're not so sure about this. Uh, it's getting better, but it can be tough to be the ones like us who started this whole ball rolling. But we have to persevere, Barb.
I know. And I just so want to support people coming up, working with animals, and trusting their own intuition, trusting themselves,
Yes.
believing in themselves, believing in the animals and what they know,
Yep.
instead of discounting everything because the outer world says it's not true. It
Right.
is true, and we've both had so many experiences with animals where
Yep.
we've seen how they are just so amazing and wise and compassionate beyond what most people can even consider.
That's right. And as an addition to, as a vet, as one of our diagnostic tools should be our intuition should have a bigger role,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And it's like exercising a weak muscle. We're all intuitive.
yeah,
It's just that you have to keep practicing. You have to make strengthening those muscles so that intuitive response becomes automatic and more clear, and we trust it. I think a lot of times, we get intuitive hits, but we don't trust it. We
right.
and it's such an important part of a life, helping and working with animals.
Mhm.
It's crucial.
And I think that that focus on intuition and trusting yourself goes far beyond just the work with animals. It supports us in our own being
That's
to be
right.
stronger, to be more confident, because when we can communicate with whatever you want to call it, our higher selves, our authentic self, God, some people might call it, whatever it is, our guides. Um, oh my God, what a kind of support is that for
Yep.
us, you know? We're not wandering around the world lost and alone anymore. We have
Right.
this guidance system that's always there, if only we can tap into that. And I think part of the problem, as I see it, is I can speak as a veterinarian. You've got 15 minutes to see a client and an animal and make a diagnosis, um, give a treatment, on to the next. And it becomes really, really difficult to get quiet enough to go inside and listen to that intuition. So
Yes.
I would hope, I think in some of the more holistic or functional integrative medicine tracks, they allow a lot more time, certainly in homeopathy, which is great. But in trad in the regular way medicine is taught now, veterinary medicine, you're really limited in how much time you can devote to this.
Right. And from what I understand, because I haven't been in practice for so many years, but I am with friends in clinics, and there's a huge, even more so than ever, a dependence on what are the test results. You know, we're focusing on diagnosis coming from, let's get this, everything is test based. And I know this has happened in human medicine.
Yeah,
Um, we're losing the personal touch. We're losing that time where we listen and intuit what's happening, what's beyond the words, what's happening beyond the test, and how do we come up with, how do we fine tune our diagnostic skills?
yeah, yeah,
Can't always rely on the tests.
right. And another thing that comes up for me as you're speaking about this is I remember from veterinary school and beyond that people get excited about an interesting diagnosis.
Yeah.
So you're more focused on the diagnosis than you are on the patient, you know? And it becomes this cold environment
Yes.
where you're totally up in your head and not in your heart at all.
Right.
And I think that's pretty prevalent, and I
Yes.
don't think it's changed all that much, especially with technology now. And so I think what I would love to see is people just getting more into their hearts and trusting what they know instead of, like you said, relying on all these tests and focusing on, "Oh my god, this is so interesting. Let's do this and do that," rather than, "Here's this poor animal suffering. What can we do to help him or her?"
That's right. Yes. Interesting conversation.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
a
we have
lot
a
to
lot of
think about.
complaints here, so what can you and I offer to people who are stuck in this whole system, um, to make their lives a little easier? You have
Right.
any thoughts about that?
Well, again, and I feel so strongly that at the end of the day, what we need to do is look inward to so many for the answers to so many questions that are bombarding us out in the world, in our personal life, in our practice. Um, from its seeing a client in the office to becoming personal at home in the evening or the morning. It's to go inward and to tune into who we are. And every morning I ask myself, I tune in quickly. Doesn't have to be a long thing, but I do a grounding, I do a connecting to a higher intelligence, whatever you call it. It's there for me. And I merely say, help me today. Show me where to go, what to do, what to say, and to whom. And it's very, very helpful
Yeah,
because there's guidance out there. We can tune into it and it'll make us stronger and better people.
I completely agree, and I've got my own practice like that. The thing
Yeah.
that saved my life for for as long as I can remember is I journal, and,
Yes.
I used to do it every day, now I do it most days. I either write it or I have voice memos on my phone, and when I'm walking my dog or whatever, I'm talking. And it used to be when I started out as a teenager, I would just talk to myself. I didn't have anybody else to talk to that would understand what I was going through, you know?
Yeah.
But it evolved into speaking with dolphins initially, then speaking with my guides and speaking with my higher self. And now I don't even always know who I'm speaking to.
Yes.
But it's so amazing, Linda, when I can really get quiet, just take a few minutes to meditate or just be quiet and ask questions and do my writing. I just did it this morning. I get these amazing answers that
Yes.
I never would have thought of just all by myself.
Right.
And
That's
it's
right.
incredible, and it allows me to see a much bigger picture than what I see on a day-to-day basis just walking around in this body, and to see, "Oh my god, things are happening for a reason," you know?
Yes. We
And
may not
so
understand uh we may not understand everything,
right,
but that's okay. We have to remember that too.
yeah,
That we don't have to understand everything, but we
yeah,
can be open to it. And
yeah,
as you say, that quiet little meditation, or the writing, it's incredible what comes out sometimes if you just allow yourself to write or
right.
to sit quietly in a chair. There's some famous person, I can't remember who it was now, who said all the world's problems could be solved if people learned to sit quietly in a room.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
for me, I segue that into walking with my dog,
yeah,
looking at the trees. Oh, that that is so helpful to me. Or just even looking out of the window, focusing on, oh, the birds up there, or, the rustling of the trees. It really can pull us into
Yeah.
a more relaxed functioning where we're not quite so monkey mind, but we can just settle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other piece of that that I've really been learning about lately, and I find that I'm very stubborn, and it's a big lesson that I'm still learning is to slow down. You
Yes.
know, we're just this busy world just wants us to keep going, and if we're a type A achiever, which most
Achievers,
of us
which we
are,
are.
it's hard to slow down because you always wanna get things done and impatient and gotta prove something, gotta do something, gotta do more, 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 and, it can be really exhausting and take a toll, not just on our bodies, but our mental state and our emotional state and our spiritual state of
Yes,
mind too.
complete.
So, I think it's really important to find a way that we don't have to do everything all the time, but just
Yes.
to honor that need to take care of ourselves, you know?
And remember, that to-do list never ends. I used to get into this, okay, as soon as I finish this to-do list, then I'll, da-da-da-da, do these other things that I feel I need to do and want to do. No, that to-do list never ends. And thinking about that scared me a little. I said, well, if the to-do list or do better or do more never ends, where do I fit in? You know, where do my needs, my wants, my happiness, where does that fit in?
Yeah.
So I really said, that's not going to work. That do everything first. And then no, you got to make time for yourself. There was I just read an article, it may have been the Times, but it was saying that one thing we learned since or after COVID is people who took up little creative hobbies. I think they were talking about knitting or crewing or drawing, um, these fun little things that people started to do. Well, it's proven that it's extremely helpful for your mental health. It puts you
Wow.
in almost like a Zen or a meditative state that is very calming and relaxing. So I always encourage people to find something that you just love to do and spend time doing it.
You know what I love to do? Hike in the mountains.
Yeah.
When it's a nice day and I can go up to the mountains with my dog and take a walk, it's like, that's my healing place.
Yeah.
Other thing is photography.
Oh,
When I'm up there or when I'm traveling or whatever, taking photos, and then every day I'm looking at those pictures, and it takes me right back to that place. It's so healing and relaxing and beautiful, so
yeah.
that's kinda my hobby. I don't knit and all that stuff, but photography, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, Barb, I think we better wrap it up or
Yeah,
I mean, you and I could go on forever.
and we do.
And we do. So maybe we'll do another one.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Linda. Thank you
And
for being my friend, for being such a wise, loving person and someone that I completely we share so many values and so many interests. It's really kind of amazing, you know?
I'd like to say in final, a sum up, that the experience I'm having with you today, having a friend who's a kindred spirit and being able to have a conversation and talk and share just be comfortable, and that loving bond between special friends is one of the most healing and helpful things we can do. So,
It's true.
yeah.
It's true. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, and
Bye.
thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you. Be well.